What's cracking YouTube? My name is Neckpunch and welcome to episode 9 of Coteinn region Pokemon, a series where I take you through the region that I'm designing and introduce some of the fake Pokemon that live within. In the last episode, we looked at some never before seen evolutions of Pokemon from previous generations, leaving out the one Pokemon you'd probably expect to be featured in such a video, Eevee. And that's because Eevee is special enough to get an episode all to itself. Sort of. We finished up the last episode in the Stewpot Marsh, where we discover the giant flower, a huge mystical plant with the power to evolve Scyther into Secator and Eevee into Leafeon. On the northern island of Coteinn, in the Crystallic Mountains, you'll find a pool of freezing water, imbued with powerful evolutionary energy. And if your Eevee has a swim in this pool, the freezing water will instead transform it into Glaceon. And there is a third area in Coteinn which works similarly. In the mountains central to the northern island is a narrow pass which regularly fills with smoke from underground vents known as the Foggy Path. The smoke cloud here also has the power to evolve Eevee, and this time into the poison type, Toxicyon, the toxic Pokemon. Toxicyon live together in nests and are very aggressive to outsiders. They are capable of surviving in the most inhospitable conditions. As Leafeon's abilities both relate to sunlight and Glaceon's both relate to hail, I thought it only fitting that Toxicyon's should both relate to a weather condition as well. Doesn't really fit with any of the ones we have, but I've previously mentioned an acid rain weather condition that I think would be perfect. Acid Pores works like a physical solar power for acid rain. Toxicyon's attack is raised, but it loses a little HP each turn. I mean, it's covering its pores in even more toxins to increase that attack power. Its hidden ability, Acid Focus, increases its accuracy in Acid Rain, which definitely would come in clutch for moves like Gunk Shot. Now, I changed the evolution method of Leafeon and Glaceon because the idea to include them as well as Toxicyon in the dex came prior to Gen 5. At the time I had this idea, Sinnoh was the only region we knew of that had a Moss Rock or an Ice Rock, and I thought it was unrealistic to think that another region would happen to have the exact same two rocks with evolutionary powers. Turns out Game Freak disagrees with me, and every region since has had them, but I still like the idea of mixing it up in this region. And I definitely prefer the idea of a mysterious cloud rather than just adding an acid rock or a poison rock. I can use the fog for non-poison evolutions, and with a flower, a pool, and a fog, we get a nice solid liquid gas trio, and I guess I'm just a big fan of nice threes. Moving on, what if you want to evolve your Eevee into an Espeon or Umbreon? Well, in Coteinn, the evolutionary method for those two Pokemon has also changed. Normally, if your Eevee is at high friendship and it levels up, it'll evolve into one of those two Pokemon, Espeon in the day and Umbreon at night. But in Coteinn, this is not the case. And to find out why and how you can still manage to get those two evolutions, your best bet is to travel to the Diamond Gorge, where you'll find a particular Genesis Corp field researcher who's studying meteorites and their effect on Pokemon, and who also has a special interest in Eevee and its connection to the natural world. Her name is Dr. Kaycreigh, and if you seek her out, she'll be happy to share her findings with you.
Hey there, trainer. My name is Kaylin. I also go by Dr. Kaylin, and welcome to the Diamond Gorge. So, you want to know about Eevee, huh? Well, let me tell you a story. Millions of years ago, there was a great and terrible Pokemon war. A legion of rebellious Pokemon rose up and sought to overthrow the almighty Arceus. In order to defend itself and its beloved creation, Arceus was forced to use its full power to annihilate those who had risen against it, to destroy its own creations. The Coteinn region was formed during that war. This very soil we stand on was once the battlefield where countless Pokemon lost their lives fighting for this world. And it's believed that the Pokemon can still sense the sorrow of Arceus that permeates this land. No Pokemon is affected by its physical surroundings more than Eevee. They feel the broken relationship between Arceus and its creation deeply, almost as though they physically can't reach the friendship level required to evolve, no matter how loving their trainer is. But I know another way. In the Ore region, where I'm from, Eevee can evolve into Espeon or Umbreon by leveling up with a Sun Shard or a Moon Shard. And here in the Diamond Gorge, you'll find those shards being held by Wild Solrock and Lunatone.
Dr. Kaylin gives you the TM for Thief so that you can go and get the item you need to evolve your Eevee. But before you go, she has one last piece of advice.
One more thing, trainer. You may find a third kind of meteorite Pokemon here in the gorge. It too may be carrying a special shard, so keep your eyes peeled.
Now when it comes to meteorites, Kaycreigh is definitely the expert. And sure enough, if you search thoroughly, you'll find a third Pokemon alongside the Solrock and the Lunatone. No, it's not based on a star or an eclipse, it's the Pokemon Rain Boulder, the meteorite Pokemon. It fell from space during a cataclysm millions of years ago, and struggles to absorb white light and thus is attracted to anything which separates the spectrum. And if you're lucky enough to find a Rain Boulder which is holding the rare Rainbow Shard, you can evolve your Eevee into Spectreon, the Spectrum Pokemon. Spectreon's fur is comprised of tiny crystals which shimmer beautifully when in sunlight. It usually remains silent, instead using its command of the color spectrum to communicate its emotions. And I know it's a legendary ability, but I couldn't resist giving Spectreon the hidden ability Prism Armor. It just made too much sense. And there you have it, my 2 new Eeveelutions and a good friend to make it possible. And speaking of friends, let me just give a huge thank you to the incredibly talented Kaycreigh for lending her amazing voice and helping me out with this video. If you haven't checked out her channel, then you're doing something wrong, so go and do that. I will leave a link in the description. And be sure to tell me what type you want the next Eeveelution to be. Are you hoping for 1 more or 10 more? Or do you feel like we have enough? Let me know in the comment section. And stay tuned, we've got 1 more episode to go, so you know what's gonna happen next. But until next time, my name is Neck Punch. Have a good one.